Good
Good
afternoon and
afternoon.
good evening to everyone. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in to this week. This is now, today is session number 6.
Six.
We are on number 6. And as we get ready to start, we thank you for tuning in. Thank you. We welcome you on Facebook Live, those of you on YouTube, those of you who are tuning in to replay.
Yes.
And we pray that you are blessed as we continue in this Thrive Marriage experience. Good afternoon, babe. How are
Good
you?
afternoon, Pastor Jay.
Here we are, I tell you. So we're going to get ready to get started. Tonight, we are so excited. We've been excited about each and every one of them, but tonight we're looking at thriving with family and friends and protecting that unity in marriage. I believe that it's going to be a blessed session. So tonight, as we get ready to get started, babe, I'm going to ask you if you want to go ahead on and pray, Pastor Philip.
Okay, I'll pray. Let us pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you once again for this Thrive marriage experience, oh God. God, we thank you, God, that the words that come out of our mouth, God, will be words come from you, God, that won't fall on deaf ears, God, but it'll fall on the spirit of couples, God. God, they will not just be hearers, God, but they'll be doers, God, where they thrive in their marriage, God. They have success in their marriage, God. They build on their marriage, God, to continue to go forth in their marriage. So, God, we thank you right now, God, for what you're going to do this evening, God, in this sixth session, oh God. God, you've blessed 5 already, God. We thank you in advance for the blessing this sixth one right now, God. So, God, have your way, God, through these vessels of clay. And we give you all praise, glory, and honor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.
So
Number
with
6.
this is number 6, and we just commend you all. We know that there are some of you who have been on here every session, and those of you who will go back and catch it on replay, we just commend you for taking the time to continue to thrive and excel and build in your marriage.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, we're going to get ready to dive into tonight. Are you
Dive into
ready?
tonight. Let me get my diving shoes on.
Get your diving shoes on. So tonight we're going to talk about, I know the last few weeks we've been talking about romance and friendship and all the things that are important in our marriages. But tonight we also want to talk to you about thriving with family and friends, protecting unity in marriage. Because there'll come a time where you have to deal with family and friends. Sometimes it's in the younger years, sometimes it's in the middle, and sometimes it's in the older years when your parents are older and they require more of your time, or when you have parents that require health, have health issues and require you to take care of them. So those are the things that sometimes we have to be sure. So we're going to get started, and let's look at our first topic in it. We want to talk about handling in-laws and extended family. We want to talk about handling in-laws.
Let's call them in-loves.
And okay, we're gonna say in-loves.
Yeah,
How about
we're gonna call them in-loves.
Yes,
handling in-loves.
That's true, but some of them might say outlaws.
Yeah, I always think the same thing. We say in-laws. Some of them might be they're not in-laws. They outlaws in the house.
Right, but we want to talk to you about handling your in-loves,
right?
and extended family. And so one of the things that I want to bring out, starting with, is that standing together as one. Even in the midst of that, we have to stand together as one. Because like you say, it's a must, because when spouses stand united, then outside pressure loses its power.
Ooh, that pressure.
Yeah, because when spouses stand united, outside pressure loses its power.
United.
And that's what happens, because one thing we have to remember, that in the midst of this, that we have to keep unity when dealing with family.
Ooh.
We have to keep that unity when you're dealing with family, whether, like we said, in the younger years, the older years, the middle years, because one thing we understand, that unity starts with clarity.
Yes.
Because if we think about it, most of the tension and most of the things that happen with the extended family, it doesn't come from bad people. Everybody in the family is not bad. It comes from unclear expectations.
Unclear expectation. That's good. Unclear. So we have to lay it down.
Right.
We have to make it clear where they understand it.
Right.
Especially when you talked about earlier about, in their later years. I remember when, my father in love had to spend almost a year with us last year.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? We he already knew the guidelines. He already knew the rules of the house. You know, so we didn't have no problem.
Right.
You know, but some of them do have problems.
Right.
You know, some of them got mama and them, daddy and them got that want to take over.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead.
Oh, that's true. But like you said, because he'd been around us and he understood.
Right.
And that's kind of some of what we'll get into later when we talk about those guidelines, because those are some of the things that we have to be sure that those are
That's
expressed.
right.
And like I said, we have to understand that even in the midst of that standing together as one. I love that, because when spouses stand united, outside pressure loses its power. And so one thing we have to remember, that boundaries aren't rejection. Sometimes we feel like, well, you don't understand. That's my mama. That's my daddy, or that's my mom, or and you and that spouse are struggling because of things that are taking place with the other one's parent. With
Right.
And so we have to understand that it's okay to set boundaries. No matter what year or what time or how long you've been married, there are boundaries that have to be set when it comes to dealing with your family. Like, for example, like I said, boundaries aren't rejection.
Right.
They're protection.
Limits.
Because if there is no boundaries, what protects us?
Right.
What protects us? And then the boundaries are not punishments. They're instructions for how we keep the love.
Right.
And sometimes we have to be sure, as a married couple, that you're on one accord. When you share those things, you have to be on one accord. And a lot of times people don't get on one accord before you get married. You just dive in and it is what it is.
I think because that conversation like what we're talking about now doesn't come to surface at that time, because there's no need to. But as we get, as our parents have gotten over,
Right.
my parents are all both passed, but your dad is still here, is setting boundaries, because we don't know when we might have to bring those loved ones in.
Right. You don't know. And even with them living with you and being there still have to be boundaries, and there still has to be time that you have together and things that you have to do to maintain that love and that relationship.
Right.
Because one thing we have to remember, that in the midst of that, just like we say with the parents, a lot of us didn't, because you don't know what to expect.
Right.
And sometimes you can have that sister or that cousin or somebody that's so close to you, but you have to remember that even with them, there has to be boundaries. There have
Right.
to be boundaries with giving money. There have to be boundaries with the time you spent. There have to be boundaries with, what's going to be allotted and what's going to be. We have to have those boundaries.
I think, and we have to set, we as a couple, we have to set those boundaries. I mean, we have to have clear boundaries that we both understand and we both stand on.
Right.
It's no good to have boundaries and we both don't stand on them. See, because I don't know, even though I've been married to you for going on 36 years, 7 years, just missed 1 year. But even though, you still know your parent better than I do.
Right.
So you know how to talk to your parent. When I just talk to him, and you know how to talk to him, the things to say, you know what makes him, what may make him upset.
Right.
And I may not know that. So that's why we set the boundaries as, okay, do I talk to your parent or do you talk to your parent?
Right. And we have to have that boundary, even if, like, when we had that time of care,
Right.
even though you was just awesome help, I couldn't, but the bottom line, I still had to remember that's my dad.
Right.
I couldn't put all the responsibility on you or expect you to just do everything, because that was my parent.
Right.
And vice versa. And so with that, we have to understand that, most extended family conflicts, it's not about the issue, it's about the access. We have to be sure that we understand the boundaries of the access that we give. You can't give your parents access, or in-laws or in-loves or whoever, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, who acts so much access to your marriage, access to your home, access to whatever, to where that's where it becomes, to where it bedraws an issue.
Right.
Because see, it's like you said, the family conflict is not about the issue. It becomes because it's about the access.
Right.
Because who gets to influence decisions?
Right.
How much influence does your mom have in decisions? How much, influence does your sister? How much influence over your spouse? It should never be a family member that have more influence in decisions in your household than your spouse.
Right.
And just like, who gets this information first? Do you share things with your family first before you share with your spouse?
We're one.
Yes, we're one.
So I get the information, or you get the information
Right.
first.
That's right. And then who gets the time? It shouldn't always be like, I got to spend time with my mom. I got to spend time with my dad. I got to go with my brother. I got to go. It's like, no time should be over your spouse's time.
Right.
No time should be over that, because it's just like, when access is unclear, that's when emotions run high.
Right.
Because
say that again.
When access is unclear, emotions run high, because it causes so much frustration and tension. And so that's when we have to
word of God.
Yes.
Write the vision down, make it plain, so everybody can run with it.
Right. And it's like, when it comes to parents, remembering not to lose honor, because sometimes we feel like, well, that's my mama, that's my, and it's like, but they don't override. Yeah. And it's like, but when it comes, because honoring without losing yourselves, leaving and cleaving, is not abandonment.
Ooh, leaving and cleaving.
Yeah, because sometimes when we don't have that full understanding of what the word meant in Genesis, 2:24.
Right.
When we hear about that leaving and cleaving, we think that means abandoning. That's not what it means. It doesn't mean to abandon your parents. It doesn't mean that. It isn't about cutting off parents. It isn't about cutting off your family. It's about shifting your primary loyalty, so your marriage has room to grow, and your love has room to still grow in the midst of it. Yes.
Look at your spouse and say, babe, it's just a shift. It's just a shift, babe. Mm-hmm. We need to make this shift. It's just a shift.
That's it.
It's a talking shift too, because you really have to talk about that. You really have to sit down and really come up with your own guidelines, your own core values, or how your marriage is run, how your household is run, how everything is run. But it takes two of you sitting down. Everything deals with conversation, so we always have to conversate. That's got to be your main focus every time, especially dealing with loved ones, with dealing with parents. That's a lot of conversation right there.
It is.
Yeah.
Because we have to remember, like we were saying, honor is holy, but our unity is sacred. To honor my parents, yes, the Bible tells us to honor them all the days, that our days may be long. It tells us to honor them.
Right.
And that's what the word does say. It says, honor your mother and your father, that your days on earth be long. But also we have to remember, honor is holy, but our unity is sacred. The unity that you have in your marriage is sacred. Just like
covenant.
Yes, that covenant that we have. And you have to choose what's best for your home and still walk in grace. And you have to set those boundaries, but we set them with grace, not with aggression.
Right.
It ain't like you done, and you this, you that. We have to set it, because boundaries are not rejection. They're protection for our relationship, and they're protection for your relationship.
I think it's also protection for our loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
When we set those guidelines, it's protection for them too, because they may not know.
Right.
They may be in error. So I think, did you say grace earlier?
Grace.
So we got to give them that grace, that hey, everything we're all learning. Mm-hmm. They're learning our expectation, what we want them to do, and we understand them as parents. They're our parents, but we're only doing it for their protection. We're help to each other.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's good, babe. Anything else you want to share on that about the parents and about honor, about our handling in loves and extended family?
Well, you really have to talk about that. You really have to discuss that as husband and wife, because like I said, you set the tone for your own household. You set the tone. Both of you set the tone. So how do you want your tone set when it comes to dealing with your loved ones? How do you want the tone set? And once you write your vision down, what both of you come up with, make it plain to us.
Right.
Then we make it plain to the rest. We sit down and have that same conversation. first, we, like you said, how we're going to treat our parents.
Yeah.
We're going to treat them patience.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to treat them lovingly.
That's right.
And we're going to want to hear from them as well. We don't want to just throw something out and not give them a chance to, okay, can that be obtained through our parents? We don't want to make it so hard with I can't live like that. I can't do that.
Right. And that's so true. And that's something that you have to have those guidelines. You can't assume that everything that you choose to do with your parent or your extended family is okay with your spouse. There has to be that unity in that conversation.
Have to have that conversation and that unity. That is so vital. That conversation and unity. Because if we're off, everything else is going to be off.
That's right.
If we're not in agreement, everything else is not going to be in agreement. That's why true. We have to be in agreement first, because you talked about unity. Mm-hmm. I always say unity, blessings come with unity.
That's right.
Blessings come with us understanding what we're trying to achieve in our marriage. Mm-hmm. Parents have raised us up great. Yeah. To where when we cleave and leave, we're not leaving you talk about it. We're not leaving because bad. We're leaving them because it's time for us to have our own relationship, for us to have our own marriage. So what you instilled in us, we'll take it to the next level.
Right. And sometimes even things we have to remember that we learned in our families.
Right.
Some things just because mom and them did it, daddy did it, my sister does it, brother does it, cousin and whoever, you got to remember that some of those things you're not going to be able to carry in your marriage. And if you carry them, they're not going to work. And so you have to see what works for you.
Right.
You learn from mom and them and daddy and them and everybody, but you have to also learn all the names. But you have to learn what applies. What applies.
What works for you for what works for them may not work for you.
Right. And so now let's talk about anything else you want to share about that before we move to talking about managing outside friendships and influences.
Just I'm always got to talk about, be patient. Love is patient. Love is kind. We have to be patient with our loved one, with our in-laws. We have to be patient with them. We have to see them, because when I was thinking about how when your father had to stay with us, he kind of lost some of his independence. He's so used to doing things by himself. Sometimes we have to understand when a loved one comes to our home when they can't take care of themselves. Mm-hmm. They're going to lose some of their independence. And we got to understand that. We got to be sensitive to that, because they're so used to being their own. They're not so used to having to count on somebody else.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Even though we're there for them, they said, so they lose some things, and they may, I don't know, they could be upset because they lost things, and we see them and just angry all the time, but we don't see, some things they had to give up.
That's right. And that's the same thing. We have to remember there could come a day that could be us. So we have to also be mindful in the midst of that.
Right.
Know? So, but that's good.
That's good, because it as we grow older, what we're going over with everybody else, we can apply it to our life now, because we may be that older person one day that can't manage on their own.
That's
and some things are going to be pulled away from us, like driving may be pulled away from us. Well, you can't drive no, Dad. I gotta take your keys. You ain't taking my keys.
Right. And that's
but for my protection, he's doing it for my protection.
That's right.
So we're doing it out of love.
That's it. So let's go to this next point.
What's the next point?
Let's look at managing outside friendships and influences.
Friendships.
Let's talk about that. Because one thing we have to remember, what I really like about this is your marriage is shaped by voices that you allow close. Because one thing, voices that we allow close can play a major role in our marriage. It can. And it's like one thing, it's like some friends, we have to be careful, because some friends bring out your best self, while others can bring out the version of you your spouse has to recover from. And so we have to remember that
that's good.
It's like choosing relationships.
What do you have to recover from?
They have to recover from your attitude, your bad attitudes, your ways, the way you talk to them after being around those friends, the way you treat them after being around those friends, and and things like that, and people, and some of the advice that you allow them to speak into your life, some of the things that they tell you to do when they get back home, because everybody cannot speak. You have to have good godly counsel, people who will speak, that who
That's the
love
key.
you, and
Good
that
godly counsel.
who value and have your best interest. Because one thing we have to remember, you have to choose friendships that don't have that relationships that strengthen your marriage. We have to choose friendships that strengthen your marriage, relationships that strengthen your marriage. How do you feel when you're around them, whether you by yourself or as a couple? Does it add value to your marriage when you talk with them?
Right.
Especially if you're speaking about marriage. Does the example of their life and their marriage, is it, bless you?
Or are they married?
Yeah, and we're gonna get into that. Like you said, friendships, because one thing, people think that you're not supposed to have outside friends
Right.
when you're married. But that's not it. Friendships don't have to be bad or be unhealthy.
Right.
It's not the friendships, but sometimes the issue isn't that the friend is toxic or anything like that. It's misalignment. It doesn't mean they're toxic, doesn't mean it's unhealthy, but it means it's misalignment. So when you have misalignment, that means that you don't have it lined up. You don't have the priorities of the friendship. And then a friend who encourages, because if you got a friend who encourages independence when you're trying to build unity, can unintentionally weaken your marriage. That's why I talk about those what you allow close to you.
And that's a good word, misalignment, because with friendship, you want them to keep you aligned, to keep you balanced. Mm-hmm. So they're for your marriage. They're gonna strengthen you and they're gonna encourage. But you got them friends that might be out of alignment. They're gonna go. They'll make you veer because they'll give you the negative side. Child, I told you how he was back in the day. Mm-hmm. Thank God you didn't listen to back in the day.
Yeah. Or those ones that would try to tell you, like you trying to share with them and they're telling you, well, if I was you, I would go. If I was you, it's like it matters because you want to be sure that when you're discussing your marriage, you got to recognize, do they encourage you to build on your love or do they encourage you to back out of the covenant that you have?
That's good.
And so we have to be so mindful of that. What do you have on that, babe? You want to share something too with that?
I said, when it comes to friendship, you have to be. I always use the term careful because when before you got married, you had single friends, and when you got married, they still may be single.
Right.
So you got to make sure that you said misalign and they don't point you in the wrong direction.
That's right.
We're married, so we're not going out partying because of single people. I remember back when you were having pregnant with Jamar, and I had that big old bag phone. Remember that big old bag phone? And I had single friends. I was married. We were early in our marriage.
Yeah, about 3 years.
Right, about 3 years. And I love playing basketball, so we playing basketball. Then they wanted to go over such and such house. I said, man, I can't do that. I was the ride.
Right.
I said, man, I can't do it. I'll drop you over your house, then you can go over there. But I can't do that because friend, hey, you have good friends, and they'll try you at the same time. Let's see if unity is in his marriage. Let's see if he won't try to slide away or something. But they'll try it. Not now. All friends aren't like that. I just happen to have some that was like that. But thank God.
Yeah.
Because God had a plan for our lives, and I was part of that plan. So we got to make sure that we're aligned with friends that are going the same way we're going. I mean, as far as they're encouraging us. They're not trying to influence us. They're neutral.
That's right.
I need neutral friends. That I'm not trying to give you any advice because I'm not married, so I can't give you good sound advice. Mm-hmm. But I'm just here for you.
Right, and we have to be mindful of that because, like you were saying about talking, when we talked about a minute ago about talking with people,
right?
We have to be sure that when you're talking to somebody, you're talking to somebody who will give you good godly wisdom counsel. Because what happens is if you don't, we talking about, you can get into emotional intimacy.
Ooh.
Emotional intimacy is powerful and it does exist because if you're sharing your frustrations, You sharing your dreams, you sharing your vulnerabilities, and you sharing all this with someone other than your spouse. See, that relationship is shaping your heart. Right. Especially, if you are sharing, and you're discussing these things, and you a man discussing them with a woman, or vice versa, you are a woman discussing these things with a man. That's when you cannot do that, because that's when we talk about people talking about you having emotional intimacy. Yeah, you may never sleep with them, you may never go out with them, but you have connected yourself to them.
Right, and you can open a door to that too.
Right.
So we always got to be careful about, especially when you talked about opposite sex. Mm-hmm. Because I remember that book we was reading. He hugged me into an affair.
Yes.
Something that the spouse wasn't getting from the husband, and by somebody with that listening ear, listened and consoled her and gave her the hug that she needed. And next thing you know, she was in an affair.
Yeah, they hugged into an affair. Right. It's a good book, because I tell you what, you have to be mindful of that, because sometimes when you get into that place and you feel like my spouse don't listen, when I try to talk to them, they ain't listening. And then you get that person, like you're a woman and now you got a man always want to listen to you. You got a woman always wanting to listen to you, man, you got a woman always that is not wise, because what you want to do is you want to do everything you can, because you don't want to cross over into emotional intimacy, because it can open the door for further, because you're building a bond and connection. And we really want to strongly urge that. We're not telling you you can't speak or you can't talk to people on your job, but the difference between speaking, talking, and those intimate conversations. There's a difference.
There's a big difference, and there's a danger in it too, because remember your covenant. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to that, if you got some emotional things you need to talk about, it should be talked about with your spouse first.
That's right. And if there is an issue, that goes back to what we talked about these past few weeks about communication.
Right.
There should be levels. That's why we have to build up that communication. We have to build that intimacy. We have to build that friendship. And you have to build those things, because if not, that's where you open that door.
Because you build on those things when it comes to the hard conversation. When the hard conversation comes, you built that up where you can talk about the hard conversation, the things, the emotional side of it that you're dealing with, and I may be part of that emotional side. I may be part of that emotional roller coaster. But if we built it up, then you should be able to talk to me.
That's right.
So when it comes to relationship like that, I always say spouses come before anything.
That's right.
Before friendship, spouses come before. Outside relationship must never compete with your marital unity. Any friendship causing tension or division must be reevaluated immediately. We say, what do you mean reevaluate? Do I really need this friendship?
That's right.
Is this friendship that important where it's causing strife or conflict in my marriage? Do I need to reevaluate? Maybe I need to spend less time with this person and find me a married couple or a married sister that can a mature one,
right?
That can speak into my life, help me with this. Why I'm not needing this person, because this person is sometimes it feel like when I'm talking to this person, it feel like conflict. I mean, I come home and I'm in conflict. Like they're stirring up my fire. If I'm upset about something, then they're helping stir it up.
They add fuel. You
causing that division.
And cause, like you said, that division.
Right.
And that goes back to, like you said, babe, married people need friends. They need married friends.
Right.
We're not saying don't have any single friends, because you got some friends that you've had for many years. You just have to know how to understand and respect those boundaries with them. And then that goes back to, like, married people need married friends, not because single friends are wrong,
right?
But because married friends understand the weight of the covenant,
right?
They understand the compromise and the commitment.
Right.
That's the difference, because again, I love that, when I got that, it's like, that's so true, because married friends understand the weight of the covenant.
I think married friends, they also encourage holiness and wisdom. Mm-hmm. I think married friends respect the marriage covenant.
Right.
You know, so it's easy to talk to them. They never pull emotional loyalty away from the spouse.
That's it. Because like I said,
Say, hey,
that's the way that's
you
the
need to
way of
talk
the
to you
covenant.
need to talk to your husband. You need to talk to your wife. You know, y'all need to go back. Y'all need to sit down and have that conversation. That's how they strengthen us.
That's right. Because I love that, because it's like what you say, the covenant. A single person, they don't understand that weight of the covenant, because it's like they don't understand compromise. They don't have to have commitment. I'm free. I
Right.
can do what I want, come and go. You know, if I want to cook, cook. If I don't. If I want to clean up, clean up. If I don't. That's a different option, because
Nobody to go home
because
to.
right, because more clearly, you know, we'll have more compassion when you talk to somebody
Right.
who's married. It's not that that single person can't have wisdom. It's not that they don't have, you know, compassion, but they're not going to have the same if
Right.
they're not married, because again, there's a weight to the covenant that you carry when you marry.
Right.
And so that goes back to all of those. It's like, but the heart and wisdom, it hits differently when you're living in it than when you just know about it.
That's good.
It hits differently.
It does. It hits so different when you've been around it, but you haven't been in it.
Right.
You ain't been in the battle of marriage. Mm-hmm. You ain't been in what marriages go through. You ain't been in the ups and downs of marriage. You ain't been in having to deal with loved ones. You ain't been in it,
right,
because you've been on your own.
Right.
So
and
it's so different.
It hits differently. It's not that they don't care, but it just hits differently. So we have to just be mindful. And that's, you know, just one of the things why we want to talk about that, you know, this evening. It's like we have to, friendships, they not bad. They don't all have to be unhealthy.
No,
we not. Just have to be sure you keep them in alignment.
Always keep them in
Always
alignment. I don't like that word, because, you know, when you think about a car, you every so often, every so many thousand miles,
right,
you know, when you see it veering, you got to go get it aligned.
That's right.
See what I'm saying? And if you always veering, you're out of alignment right there. That person is keeping you out of alignment. If you're always veering, if you always come out of the conversation, you're negative. Out of conversation, you really haven't gained anything.
Right.
So we gotta make sure, because the Bible don't say we can't have friends now.
That's right.
It's not in the Bible that, you know, there ain't no scripture that say we can't have friends.
We need
friends.
Yes, you need to have a friend. You know, we know what the word said, you know, you want friends, show yourself friendly. And so it's like we also remember those things. And then, so anything else you want to share with that before we move to our last topic?
What's our last topic?
We're going to be talking about children parenting challenges while protecting your family. Some of us are in it, you know, because you've got smaller children. Some of you have teenagers. Some of you have older adult children. Because I don't care how old they get, they still your children.
They're still your child.
Still your children. So, like, if I started off, I can start and look at it and say, well, let's talk about starting with young children. You know, we got to still stay connected in marriage in chaos. Because, you know, having young children, babies, toddlers, it can get chaotic.
And it don't only just get chaotic. We have to, young children pick up things so quick. Mm-hmm. So we always got to have that our center has always got to be God, because we want them to always see the God in us. If we have something against each other, we don't talk about it in front of the children.
Yeah. Now, you might get away with it when they babies, but when they start talking, they're going to repeat everything they hear. Everything they hear. Y'all know those little kids and them little toddlers are like parrots. You say something, they're going to repeat it back, just like a parrot. Just like a parrot. You know, because one thing, when you're dealing with, we're going to talk about young children for a minute. You got to keep connected and revive that closeness with each other.
Right.
Because having, you know, we're not in that season now, but we had that season where we had small children, where we had babies, where we had toddlers. And even then we had to understand, I thank God that we got that revelation way back then on how to balance. Because even then you still have to understand that people are like, hey, my children come first. No, they don't. Your spouse comes first. My child, your spouse comes first. Well, that's your spouse comes first.
Because one day they gonna grow up and they gonna leave you.
Yeah.
And if I always put them first, then when they leave, I'll be lost, because who are you?
Yeah. But not only that, it's like, that's biblical.
Right.
It's not your children.
That's
It's
right.
your spouse comes first, just like with that. What we talked about, that unity and that connection, because we understand when you have small children, you still got to fight for that time with each other.
Still got
You
to.
still got to continue to build that bond. You still got to set boundaries because we know exhaustion is real. They're like, you understand, you don't have small kids. No, we understand. We've been there,
Right.
done that, got the t-shirt. We got a couple of flyers and some bumper stickers. But it's like exhaustion is real. But connection is oxygen for your marriage.
Connection is oxygen.
Yes, it is exhaustion is real. You got little kids, you doing all that, but yeah, take a deep breath sometime, because oxygen is for
And
your
count
it is
backwards.
it's yep, connection is oxygen for your marriage. I like
Lord,
that.
I don't
Count
want to hurt
backwards.
them, Lord, so I'm gonna count.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
because
count backwards.
it's funny you doing that, because an example I wrote down is, I read this. It said a couple with toddlers created a 10-minute nightly connection ritual. No phones, no chores, just presence of each other. And it said it revived their closeness in the season where many drift apart, because many can drift apart when you're dealing with small kids, babies. I'm tired. It can interfere with your connection and your intimacy.
Boy, you got to have a game plan.
You got to have a game plan.
Because they come out running.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have a game plan when it comes to your children. Game plan, discipline when they act up.
That's right.
There's consequences. You got consequences with everything you do. There's consequences behind there. Good consequences, they're bad consequences. But we're raising them as discipline when you're dealing with young children, because they're gonna try you every single
and in
day.
every stage of life. Because like even if we look at teenagers, you got to still stay unified when they start to test your boundaries, because now them cute little kids and it's so baby, they so wonderful. Look at him, he's so perfect. Got 10 toes, got 10 feet.
Oh,
They
got
so
a mind
and now
own.
they got a mind of their own.
Woo!
Because now they little young children. Now now they done turned into teenagers. And you got teenagers, they like you said, they would try to divide the parents to get their way. But unity becomes a spiritual weapon.
That's right, because we set the boundary. You know how they all try you.
They'll try you.
I ain't gonna go to daddy, so I'm gonna go to mama. Daddy said no, so I'm gonna go to mama, see if she said yeah. They'll try you, but and that's when we say, what your daddy say, what your mama say.
Right, because when they see that you're unified,
right.
See that moment right there would teach them respect and strengthen the marriage.
That's right.
That shows that you have respect for me, I have respect for you, and it lets them know that we have respect for each other.
Right.
So that's when you have to be mindful how you talk about each other, like you said, how you treat each other in the midst. You can't talk to you have no business talking to your children about, your daddy and your mama. Now we do it sometimes as a joke. I'll call my grown adult and say, come get your daddy. Right. Come get your daddy. I'll be like, come get your daddy. Let me tell you what he just did. Most of the time it's something very funny. But the bottom line is, like that example, what we just had, you got to let them know that we are a unified front. In other words, you got to let them kids know this is us. Don't play with us.
Right.
We're a unified front right here. Not a fake, but a front. Don't play with us. And when they see that, and then that goes into even adult children, you have to loving without losing yourselves when you get to adult children. Because parenting adults requires shifting from control to guidance. Because now
coaching.
Yeah, and coaching.
So we have to coach now, because they're on their own now, so we got to coach.
Yeah, because the older they get, guidance is key. And like you said, coaching is key. Because it's like it has to get to also, we have to have those boundaries with each other, because we want to treat them still like they're little kids. We still want to do for you. But we have to get to that place. It's like, we love you, but we can't rescue you from what God is teaching you.
Right.
If we always try to rescue them for what God is trying to teach them, then sometimes they'll never get it.
Or we have to be unified, because sometimes they get out there and do something wrong. We'll say, well, you should have spoke to him more like that when he was in the house, and you didn't do this, you didn't do that. No, they making decisions on their own. We gave them every tool they need to make the right decision, the right choices, but they have to make the right decision, the right choices. So it's not. I can't fault you for what the daughter's not doing. You can't fault me for what the son's not doing. No, they're in a place where they're making decisions. They're gonna fall sometime. They're gonna make the wrong decision. That's part of growing up. That's part of adulthood. So we can't be against ourselves, but we got to be there for them. And that's why I said coaching. Okay, when I say coaching, okay, what did you do? Okay, this is what you should have done. I'm coaching you now. I said, so you don't fall into that next time. This is what you do. If you don't understand, you don't know, hey, call me first.
Right.
You know, you got a phone. Just pick up the phone, call me, and I'll tell you what to do. And that's with whether the son or daughter. You know, we got to make that plain to them that they're going to make mistakes. Don't be hard on yourself because they make mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes as we're growing up. We're not perfect.
That's right. And one thing I want to chime in with that before we get ready to wrap this up, Bang, is even with adult children, we have to understand that disagreement is normal.
It's normal.
But we have to also understand that division is optional. It's whether we allow those disagreements or things that we have to divide us or to keep it. That's an option that we have.
Right.
You know, you can have different parenting styles, but you must have shared decisions, whether we're trying to talk to them about how they're raising their kids.
Right.
You know, and even in one thing we want to share before we get ready to, because we all grew up different.
Let me just say one more thing. I saw written something down. It said adult children do not get veto power over the marriage, over finance. Though they don't get veto power.
That's right. That's right.
You don't get no veto. You don't get no say so. We'll listen to you.
Right.
But you don't have no power.
You don't have no power.
Between us, you don't have no power.
That's it. And that's it when it comes to dealing with
adult
money
kids
and everything else. You know,
right.
Because we still gotta live. We still gotta maintain. We not gonna take all our money out the household to give it to
right.
you. I'm just saying. But the bottom line is, all jokes aside.
I was thinking about the husband when he said, they said, "Daddy, we rich." He said, "No, we rich. Y'all poor."
Yeah, he said, "Y'all are broke."
Yeah, y'all broke.
So you have to understand, that's a good one. But that goes back to, even with that, when you get to that stage with adult children and there's differences, don't allow that to cause differences in your marriage.
Right.
Don't allow that to cause differences and break the unity, because things will change, the seasons will change, the time will change, and you would have to deal with all these different seasons and times and ages.
Right.
But we have to remember, above all of this, the main thing that you have to have is that communication, that unity, and that love, like what we were sharing here just a little bit ago. Any closing thoughts you got on that covenant? On that covenant.
Because we're covenant. We're all in.
We're all in. And so, and that's like you said, babe, and even with that, remembering, some of us may have made mistakes while you was growing your children.
Right.
Some of us may have had mistakes when they were young.
Man.
You made mistakes when they were teenagers. You may have even made some mistakes with them when they were adults. But you have to forgive yourself for those mistakes, because it's just like what you just said, babe, a little while ago. Regardless of it, there was mistakes made in your life with your parents, but you still strive, you still thrived, and you still turned out all right. So you have to understand that even in the midst of that, regardless of the mistakes, it's the choices that they still have to make, how everything works in their life. So I'm about ready to pull Pastor First Lady in.
Let's pull them in. Let's see what Pastor.
Because I think this is a good one.
This was a good one.
Oh my, was it good? Hasn't this been great, First Lady? And I'm, as the this generation say, I'm not capping. This is really good teaching. I'm talking what we've learned tonight. Session number 6, thriving with family and friends. What a dynamic, comprehensive time to deal with the way you've dealt with family and friends. You dealt with it in a comprehensive way. And so this has been phenomenal, First Lady. I mean, from the little kids to teenagers to adults. I want to encourage couples that if you missed part of this, to go back and be sure you watch the replay. Those that watch the replay, watch it again, because it's going to help you and and different seasons of your life. Just a few thoughts. Y'all tell me in First Lady, anything stick out to you before we try to wrap it up tonight? But one thing that sticks out to me, as you all ended with adult kids, phenomenal wisdom and insight. I want to just kind of add in that, and we'll kind of just touch it for a moment. It kind of speaks to me that what I see, we'll start with adult and work our way back to the small kids, that sometimes those that have adult kids, they can, when they look back in reflection, they can blame themselves and feel bad about, like you said, Pastor Jeanette, of mistakes that they made with their kids. That's why they say a lot of time grandparents do better, because they got the experience with their kids, because they learned from the mistakes. But what I want to do, just in way of those that already have adult kids, or those that when you get there, you can remember this wisdom, is this. Just like you said, it's about their choices. I want you to look at Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve had the perfect parent. Who was their parent? Was God. He was responsible for training them, preparing them to deal with the world. He was the one that was responsible to prepare them to deal with the world, to deal with the devil. That was God's responsibility, to get them prepared. Not only was it that, they were in a perfect environment, perfect situation that they were put into, but look at how they made mistakes. And so, but we know we can't blame God. Can we blame God for the way he parented them? Maybe God, like, he should have did a better job of preparing them, like, to deal with the enemy. Maybe he didn't like spend enough time with them, to overcome. We can't say that, because we know God is perfect in all his way. So what that shares with us, even with a perfect parent, with a perfect situation, the perfect school, the perfect everything, people make their own choices. And I want to encourage grown parents to not to have that burden, even though you weren't perfect. Even if you were perfect, it's their decisions. And so, because a lot of time parents, they really do that. And what I learned First Lady, I share this helped me, and I often help parents. I take it two ways and try to encourage parents, especially if you got one kid or multiple kids, that we don't take too much of the credit, nor do we take the blame or feel any blame or shame with things that happen with our kids. Why? Because many times people say, "Oh, y'all raise great kids, yada yada." Yeah, but it's not so much of us. It's the decision that they make. We plant, we water, but how their life is turned out, whether great, they become the president of the United States, or whatever that happened in life, it's more to do with what they decided to do than us. And if you remember that, parents, it can keep you from having that regret over how they turned out in their life. And so I just wanted to offer that for adult parents, because many blame, because what happened as well, if you're not wise and get counsel with this, when your kids grow up, as they mature, sometimes there might be conversations, and depending on where they're at in the stage when they share it, when they begin to tell how the experience was for them growing up, it depends on their level of maturity then, what they're going through. Man, they might unload on you and tell you all the things that you did wrong when they were growing up. And if you're not prepared for that, it could put you in a sunken place. And so we want to encourage parents with that if those things happen, you can acknowledge those things, take ownership of those things, but not really blame yourself that you're the reason that their life is the way that they are. And so I that's one of the things, just before we go deeper, I wanted to offer, because I did some phenomenal wisdom with dealing with adult children, but that's one of the things that people deal with when it comes to the children, and then they feel real bad, or like you all said, they start turning on one another. The husband turned on the wife because it was your job to raise that girl. I told you that she shouldn't have been wearing the lipstick when she was young, or you thought it was cute, with having her wearing the little dresses, but I knew I was a man. I knew what you were doing and stuff. And so then now, or the woman blaming the man, like, it was you, you should have been more time with your son. You didn't do this for him. I tried to tell you, and you were too hard on that boy. All those things are tricks of the enemy. We want to encourage those that got adult kids. Don't fall for the okie doke, because as the pastor shared with us, the main thing is that you all stay unified.
Right.
Now, you all unity, and all those things are a trick from when they're little or grown that'll get you to blame it. That's why my daughter like that, because I told you when she was young. You should have spent more time with that girl or with your son. So that's one thing that just sticks out to me. First Lady, anything you want to share before we deal with some other areas that just hit you tonight? Phenomenal teaching.
Amen.
The Bible does tell us to train up a child in the way that they should go. And I think part of training up your child is giving them the wisdom and the knowledge they need to make it in this world. And then also giving them the tools so that they can make it through this world. Like for us, we did everything we could to put our kids and set them up for success. But because they set up for success, it's their choice, their will to take that and keep running with it. And sometimes it is a little hard because sometimes the kids do want to play that little blame game. But we never had the experiences with our kids because, you know, our kids are they're just different people in the world. But I know sometimes when they with me, because I work with one of my sons, and they're always saying, "Oh, you raised such a good guy. You raised such a good guy." And I always tell them this: I trained a good guy. I didn't raise him to be like that. He had to make decisions to be friendly or to be bubbly. But we did train them up. We brought them up in church. We read Bible studies. We prayed with them. But then when they're older, it won't depart for them that they will continue to pray. And I think sometimes we think because it says train them up the way they should go, they won't depart from it. It does not say that they won't depart from it, but it's not going to be long or whatever duration.
They'll come back.
It don't come back. But see, and that's the thing. Sometimes as parents, we want to take credit when they're getting their rewards, but when they're in trouble, we don't want to accept that. So then that's what we do. We do like Adam did. We play the blame game. Well, no, if he would have listened to me, or no, if she would have listened to me, and then if you would have been in his life, or she would have been in his life, then they wouldn't be like this. So a lot of times we have to realize that it's not a blame game, because Adam did get in trouble for blaming. So we as parents, we can't blame ourselves or blame our kids. It's just they raised up.
I know, and because don't take too much of the credit and don't take the blame. And that's I'm so glad that you all dealt with this from the adult area as well, because how often we never hear teaching that helping parenting and dealing with adult children, how you all said with just even the guidelines and that. So I thought that First Lady, and in a way we didn't have the real blow ups, because we know some parents, they have the blow up and the kids blaming, and but we have had, because with our boys, I have had some conversations that with my boys, that with some things that I did fall short, or at least in perspectives that I had to take ownership of. Like I make no bones about it that I didn't grow up telling my children that I love them. That they knew it. I was at everything. And so when we had conversations about that, that's the thing about when you have multiple kids. That's why we try to give you this wisdom. Don't blame. We had multiple kids, came out of the same womb, same DNA, same family, same structure, but the experience is different. One of my kids felt like, man, Dad, you went to our games, you didn't hug me after the game, tell me you love me. And then that, not in a bad way, but it's like, okay, we'll deal with that. And the other son is like, Dad was hugging him. He's like, because he didn't play in the game or nothing. That's why, man, Dad was there everywhere. What you mean? It was, the experience was different. One felt like, Dad, you didn't hug me at the game. And the other one, like, he didn't hug us because he was there, even though same experience. One look at it, it's like, man, I felt like I wish Dad would have hugged me after the game like the other kid. It's like, no, he came and dapped you up. So, but you still own it, though. That's my point. You own it. You had those conversations, but great teaching.
But as an adult parent, we also have to realize different types of personality. Even like when my kids was growing up, I knew their personality. So if the teacher said they were talking in class, I already knew who they said was talking in class. Why? Because I knew my children. I was around my children. We raised them up. But even in that, our boys, they know that you love them, like you said. And sometimes pastors sometimes get a little jealous because the boys call their mama, and I can't help they call their mama or FaceTime their mama. They just do that.
I won't say I might be a playful jealous. No, I'm really not. No, I celebrate you because that shows how awesome of a mom, and I'm glad that they had that special bond with their mom. I do. I celebrate that. And then too, we have our dad thing too, but it's just something about a mama. And I just didn't get the girl to have that daddy's daughter thing type deal. that's a special bond
Yeah.
with daddies and their daughters.
And we can see that in our granddaughters with
Yeah.
their dads.
And so when the grandgirls are coming to me and they want Papa, see, you feel bad too. And they want
really
their granddad.
do.
See, and
Because
so
that's the one that call and talk.
no, they
to.
want Papa
They
though.
want
That's
Papa.
that's about grand sugar. So,
Yeah.
but great wisdom. So just to share with grown parents in that, and sometimes first say the last thing in that is if you don't have multiple kids, see, you don't have the data to know that it worked. We have multiple kids, multiple boys, so
Can
we
you
have
say-
a
can
good
you say
data.
like five, 'cause
Five,
multiple seem
five,
like a lot.
5 boys. So we can see in the same household, the same experiences, and two can be and across the table had the same experience, but it's like they looked at it a whole different way,
Mhm.
a whole
It's
different
just a
way.
perspective.
And hold and look at it. And so, but if you didn't have that, you could kind of feel like, man, we messed up. And so, great wisdom. Doctors, pastors, let's deal with this. We dealt with family, you dealt with family and friends. Great foundational teaching. Question number 1, we'll do hot takes because we really want to help people with a solid foundation. Deal with this. Why is it so crucial? You touched on it, that couples do not go to family members when they are having struggles in their marriage. You know, they have a good relationship with mom or dad or sister. Why is it so crucial that they do not go to family members when they are having marriage where he cheated, she took the money and gambled it? You know, they call me a name. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, what can y'all touch on that?
I think for one thing, Pastor, you wouldn't go to don't want to go to family members because when everything get okay with y'all, family members will still be mad at that person that you talked about.
That's right.
And we're good now, but I'm not good with the family member because they're still holding it against me or they're still holding it against her. That's why we don't go to family members, because family members can also take sides. Mm-hmm. You know, I tell my side or she tell her side, and they're going to take my side, not even heard the other side yet.
That's right.
Anything else you want to add to that, First Lady or Jeanette, or y'all? Anything you want to add to that?
I think what they unawares what we do is we plant a seed of bitterness into our loved one heart.
Wonderful, First Lady. A seed of bitterness.
Yes, and so because we done uprooted ours because we done fell back lovey-dovey, but that because that seed had been planted, any little thing that spouse do or say is watering that bitterness that has been in their heart. So I would say to everybody, you know, if you do need to talk to someone, get wisdom from a mature person. Like prime example, when we got married, you went to my dad, and my dad, I felt like my dad was taking your side, but because my dad know me, he was able to counsel. But he didn't take sides though. He didn't take sides. He didn't say, "Oh, son, you wrong," and he didn't tell me I was wrong. He told us how to compliment each other or help each other.
And see, that's a unique situation, but I didn't go to my family. I went to your dad, but he counseled us. He married us. He was a pastor. So sometimes you have unique, he was a pastor. So he got some wisdom, but when there was issues though, we didn't go to family. We had outside people, just some things that we could, you know, share. So that's good. But I love that First Aid, a root of business. Anything else, Dr. Jeanette? Because I want couples to know how critical it is not to do this.
Right. Because one thing, when you do that, you cause, like you say, them, and it can breed resentment. And then that resentment will cancel out the reconciliation of the situation. Because see, now it's like I went to them, and where we could have reconciled, now I have allowed them to plant that resentment in because I went to my family, and because of their love for me, now we've got a place of resentment that we can't come out of, and that resentment will cancel out the reconciliation of the situation.
I think that's so crucial. Younger couples, they if they don't get this, and you go to your sister, your cousin, your uncle, your auntie, your mom, and your daddy, this is why. They knew you first, and they have a love for you that's unshakable. Your spouse, they have known that long. And if they're not mature and have emotional maturity and spiritual maturity and dealt with counseling because of their love for you, they might not ever get over what he did.
That's
to
right.
See your pain, that you did this to my daughter, you did this to my granddaughter, to my son, and to see the pain that you did to them, they may not ever get over it. And then once you get over it, like you said, Dr. J, it can mess up your reconciliation because they're going to always be planning things. Now, every time you get together, they're going to feel cold. And now they might not feel comfortable around your family. Why? Because everybody, like, they can feel like it's fake love, it's this. And then that could be a wedge between you all because it's like, well, I don't want to be around your family. So then you going, well, I go around your family, but you told your family. So please do not go to your family with issues. Find a counselor, somebody in your church, but for God's sake, because if once you get that seed in them, they might not ever get it out of them.
And then too, they may sometimes I have seen this before. Like once you get over it and you go back to that person, then that family member start hating on you. Like, oh, I knew she was gonna go back to him again. But it's because of you planted that seed of bitterness. So you're gonna have to deal with that consequence because some of them will turn on you though. They will, because if you taking that person back, they're gonna turn on you.
Yeah, they might turn on you. Like you go, and so you shouldn't have never told them. So just had to hit that. Next thing, you all did great thing. You talked about
I was gonna say only one time you need to go to the family though and tell. If they're abusing you, they beating you, kicking you, or doing something, you better tell somebody.
And then I even say with this though, tell somebody, but it doesn't have to be family. Go tell the police, tell the counselor.
You can't tell the family.
But you gotta tell the family because you need somewhere to stay.
And then if you got pastors, you got people in your life, you'll even be better. I said go to a friend than family. I'm gonna tell you why. Because when we say abuse, and it's like, let's keep it 100. If somebody's hitting you and doing that, okay, see, that's what we normally think. But now it is wrong for verbal abuse.
Right.
But see, but you go tell your family, he abusing me verbally, and it's like, well, I called you a name, yeah, but you called me one too. And so it's the whole picture. And now it's like with fighting. So, oh, he hit me. Like, okay, the real deal, because I'm keeping it 100. I dealt with people. It's like, what, man, she bumped me. I was standing in the thing and you tried to get by and you bumped me and you pushed me and you bumped me. But now because emotions are going, it's like, oh, my dad, he hit me. And it's like, now you don't tell your dad, this man hit me. And when you really get down to it, it's like, well, really didn't hit me. He was trying to go by and I did bump him. See, now you trying to fix all of that, and your family's saying you better you stupid for staying there. And if he kill you, it's on you because you got your mama in it. That's why I want to say, I'm just passionate. I've seen it.
But I'm talking about the real abuse. The real abuse.
When we say abuse, though, it becomes nuanced with, because I've seen it. Where sometimes the woman hit the man, or they were just like, it was a push. It's like I was trying, it's just none of that should ever happen.
Yeah,
we shouldn't put hands on it, but I've seen it. And if we just say it, I'm just telling you, because I know once you get family and now you trying to walk it back where he really didn't. I've heard a story of people don't got jumped on because of this stuff.
Oh yeah, they have.
Right.
Now the family don't went on there and beat. I'm saying serious beat down.
But I'm
talking
they
about
went
and
the
said
real
that he
deal.
hit me. They went and said, because all they said, you said, and some folk are straight out the hood. They like, that's all I got to say. I told you better not ever put your hands on it. Bring her back to me. And now, but when you hear the whole story, she pushed him, but now it's too late because you told family. So I want to just be sure we clear with that. With telling family
that you're talking about, Pastor. Now they
married.
So it was like, okay, well,
they got beat down. I'm straight up. You straight up.
Go to the
hospital stuff. But we'll digress. So but tell somebody.
First lady,
don't stay in an abusive relationship. Don't stay in an abusive relationship. Nobody should ever put their hands on you.
Pass the back first.
Somebody should never put your hands on. Don't put your hands on. No, because I've seen it though. But really, I've seen it in the name of when we throw these things out like sexual assault or whatever, it can cause a lot of things. And it's really like, because you was emotional and you said a buzzword, you said abuse, and that's the trigger thing. Like somebody said, they said the N word. And it's like, once you say something, all bets are off. So that's why I said, keep family out of, let family know but you want family out your stuff, because I've seen too many people never be able to reel that thing back in.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah, that's a good point, Pastor. What you put out, little stuff like that off emotion. But the abuse I'm talking about, he is
Bust that.
truly done bust you in your face, beating you,
Oh, yeah.
and you
Yeah.
lying, talking about you ran
Oh,
into
yeah.
the
Oh, yeah.
cabinet,
That's
your
it.
arm
Yeah.
broken, you in the emergency room.
Oh,
I
yeah.
want my daughter to come to us and tell us
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
he's having an abusive problem, which I
And,
don't
and,
think that will
yeah.
ever
And
happen
you
anyway.
need to get out of that though. You need to tell not only them, your family, you need to get
Yes.
out. You
We
just
calling everybody. She getting out so she can
get
have a
out.
place
Yeah.
to live. That's what I meant. Tell them so you can have a place to live, a
Yeah.
safe place.
Yeah.
somewhere
Yeah.
to go.
But I'm just saying, yeah.
Yeah.
But
In
not
those
that,
things,
but
but I've
not
seen a
that
lot of
stuff
the little
that normal.
nuance because in the
Yeah.
emotions, you know how it is. In the emotion,
yeah.
all you just say, well, he abused me,
Right.
you know,
With no
so-
evidence, no proof, or no real.
or just y'all was fussing. You put hands on him, and y'all were standing in the door. Come on, let's keep it 100. You standing, somebody was standing in the door, and they tried to get by, and you didn't let them get by, and then somebody got bumped. They said like he hit me.
Or if they get in their face like that and they move, swipe
Yeah.
their hand and you fall.
You hit me. You know,
Yeah,
so
what
I
if
just
they
want to
shoot
help
them?
people, but the main thing is keep family out of it.
Right.
That's
That's, you know, and because just good wisdom. Because I deal with it on a practical level, and I've seen it, and then you can never walk that back. Once you tell somebody he abused me, and you're done. What are the signs? Real quick, you talk with friends. This is so good. What are the signs that a friend is not giving you good advice or hearing? Because this thing with a friend, we talked about friends, and we have close friends. What are really some of the signs or buzzwords for somebody don't know, like when a friend is not really giving you good advice? We know if they say leave, but what are some things that we need to be mindful of when we're talking with friends and they're talking with us about our relationship? Anything you all want to just share with that, just in a little deep, because to give them a little bit more practical wisdom with friends and just conversations besides leave him. Anything else? Because we don't want to not have friends and not have even single friends. What is just some of the things that seem we need to watch out for?
Well, I would say if your friend, sometimes we got to understand if your friend, if you have a single friend, as a married person, I don't think she can counsel me on that because she's not living that lifestyle as me. I'm married, so she's not married. And then if she gives me some advice, it's based off of her singleness, not her marriedness. So then she's not giving us fair or correct advice because why? Because she hasn't been in that spot before, or she haven't. But now some of us can talk with each other and say stuff and we can bounce stuff off each other. But it's a red flag when your friend always talking about you need to leave them because they may be trying to just take in your place.
Good. So we need to watch. That's good. For so counsel. Mm-hmm. Just be, if they counseling you, anything else you all want to just share to help people, because people have friends that watch for friends words that some signs that are not good.
I think taking sides during the conversation, marital conflict, you're gonna automatically take sides. You ain't even heard anything, but you just gonna take sides. And, that person that can really give me good wise counsels, because they so quick to jump on my side or jump on his side, and that's not a person I want. I want a person that's neutral. That'll say, hey, you know what, maybe you need sides. Yeah, I want to hear both sides. And, do we have the time to come visit with him or come visit with her where we can hear both sides? We want to be allow us to be a mediator, but when they just jumping on sides and just say or encourage resentment. It's okay to resent him. He done that, you did, so they encouraging it.
Right. Good wisdom, Pastor, because what happens is I like that. So, because you have friends and you might talk to your friends about stuff, because we said number one on family, but it's like, who I'm gonna talk to? That's my girl, okay, or that's my guy, I can trust him. Okay, you might be telling some things with friends or whatever, if that is what it is. Mm-hmm. But if they're trying to counsel, you got to watch that. But then too, if they're always on your side, then you can't trust their wisdom. Right. Because if they always on you, it's not balanced. If they're always for you, because then that means that's like you my ride or die. And you don't need that kind of, you need wisdom in that, because it's called gas. Sometimes they can gaslight you. And you're wrong, but they gaslight you. Dr. Jeanette, anything that you want to chime in on this?
No, I think they pretty much that's what I was like what we talked about earlier about the godly counsel and understanding, the boundaries with single friends and so yeah.
Because those some of the words, if they're agreeing,
Mhm.
just like you said with just the counsel, and then too is if they're not encouraging you to get into counseling and do anything, you need those kind of things.
Right.
Yeah, we
My
have to be
spouse,
mindful of people always want to be eager to hear about your problem. It's
that's
like,
another one.
just want to hear
If
about my
always
problems all the time.
that's a good wisdom. If they always trying to
Yeah,
pull
'cause
out,
some people
how
on the
y'all
slick
doing?
though.
That's good. So
Yeah,
if
that's a being on the slick, like how y'all doing?
Yeah.
And you knowing that some
pulling it out.
yeah, you know your friend.
I love that. I
You
love
know,
this.
It have been like that.
I
you
love
know,
this.
we
Good
can tell
wisdom.
that.
See, I wanted to equip them so you could like now there could be red flags that you didn't see.
Mhm.
Like you said, Pastor David, always on your side. You said
Mhm.
first, like you said, David, the counseling, but then like you just said, then if they always trying to pull that they pulling on you about your marriage,
Right.
that's a sign
Mhm.
that you need to be mindful of that. Next thing, my spouse has no friends, but I have friends, and it seems as though my spouse want me to shut off my friends because they don't have none. Help me. Give this person wisdom that it's like my friends are good friends. They not off the chain, single or married or whatever, but because they don't have a friend, it's like they want me to cut off my relationship with my friend. Can you give that spouse that's watching this, give them wisdom and how do they handle that? And it's all good. So this to stable, the friend's not toxic. It ain't called the only reason it's causing strife, this person believe, because they don't have nobody. And so because they don't have nobody that they could do stuff with, then they just want me to themselves. And I encourage them to get friends or husband or wife, but because they don't, it's like they almost jealous of me and they want me to just cut everything off because they don't have none. I'm a people person and they're not. Help them.
That goes back, Pastor, to what we talked about a few weeks ago when we was talking about the friends, that you have to be able to have balance in your marriage. You can't have to where you suffocate your spouse to where they're your world. They're your world. They're everything. You got to do everything with them. I got to be with you 24/7 unless you're at work or what. It's like, because now it turns into, that's unhealthy. And especially when you don't have no kind of outlet, that it's all about your spouse 24/7. That's not healthy. And in the midst of that, it's like, yeah, you have friends, but that's where it comes back to when we gave out good wisdom a few weeks ago. And we encourage you, go back if you haven't heard all these sessions and listen to each one. We've got one more left, and this is number 6. We talked about how it is a balance, that you have to allow your spouse to have friends outside of the marriage.
Now, what are they saying? Amen to everything you're saying. What do? I trying to tell them that they won't watch it. Help them. What did I do? Because I feel like when we're dealing with friends, they telling me to cut my friends off, and you're absolutely right. They smothering me. What did this person do?
That's that. They're going to have to apply to themselves. They're going to have to try to talk to that spouse. Right. They're going to have to try to say, hey, help me. Or that's when you try to encourage them. Let's talk to somebody, because that is an unhealthy relationship when it's like a person cannot have any outlet outside. Everybody needs some outlet. Like we talked about in that week, there are some things that men can only talk to men about. There's something that only women can talk to women about, especially when you're talking about your body. You're talking about age, you're talking about marriage, you're talking about different things. There's certain wisdom that you can only get, you can't always get. We know everything we know together,
Right.
but sometimes you need to learn from outside sources, so therefore you can grow with each other. Because I can talk to him, like I said before, all day, but he's not going to understand everything and how I feel as a woman.
Good. So what I hear in that, one thing you're hearing, you're gonna have to maybe get some counseling.
Yes.
You're gonna have to get them in a group, because you're not crazy. Like Pastor Jeanette said, you do need other outlets. So you're not wrong, but in order to do it, you're gonna have to maybe get somebody that your spouse can trust, that y'all can talk about that together, and you can express in loving ways. I love you, but I need an outlet. Like she said, there's some things I want to talk about that I need another voice. And I love you. So that's great wisdom. You can't go it alone. Any other advice y'all have for the person that feel that way, Pastor Philip?
Well, Pat, that's the bottom line, Pat. You're gonna have to have a balance, and if they pull on you so much, then you're gonna be like him. You're gonna be not wanting to do this, because if I have friends and you like this, so I'm trying to please you. At the same time, I'm hurting. At the same time, I'm dying. At the same time, I'm suffocating. So that I would have to talk to that spouse. Why are you like that? I mean, what caused you to like that? Do you have some insecurities in you or something? Is you trust issues, or what? Or is she taking, or is your spouse taking too much of the time, too much of your time, too much time with somebody else, not spending that quality time with you? So I would have to sit down and have a conversation with him. What makes him like that? It could have been his bringing up,
or hers.
Or hers.
It's good wisdom. So
like Pastor said, she could be a people person, and he's not a people person. One's an extrovert, the other one's an introvert.
Good wisdom. So, like you said, we got to get counseled, and like you said, get to the why you don't have friends, to have that discussion. Like, hey, rather than just fighting about me leaving, try to help them. Like, why you don't have any, like, a friend or anybody, because it could even be family, a cousin. Just that I like the communication, like we always say, to figure out why that might be, because it could be some barriers that you can help them work through, or they can work through in counseling, that's kept them from having anybody else. Right. That's good. With any last thing you have first say?
And I would say, like, if the spouse that has the friends, you also can encourage the spouse to do hobbies or other things like that for the time that you're away from them, because sometimes it's just they don't have nothing to do. So then now it's like, I don't have nothing to do. So now, but if you give them like a hobby or something that they may like to do, and then also you can redefine what it means to have a friend. Because like me, I have my sisters, my aunties, and especially my auntie that's in my age bracket, and all of us are close. So I do have outside friends, but my go-to friends and where I want to hang out with like that is my siblings and my auntie. So they're my friends, but they're my sisters too, but they're my friends. So you have to realize, like, hey, you may not have a friend, but you do have the ones that you're close to.
Love that. Great wisdom, first say. So sometimes what you could do and try to help find them activities, like that your husband might like, or your wife might like, because they might not have discovered it. They might not have the creativity, and try to help get them in that. And then they might need to redefine what a friendship is. One thing I learned, levels of friendship. They, in their mind, they might think that a real friend have to be BFFs for life or level 10. You can have a different range that from 1 to 10 is like but they might be looking at it in the wrong way. I love that, to redefine a friend, and it just might be, we just do this together. That's my golfing friend, my bowling friend, right? And nothing else. And you still have that level of companionship that we just go to the range and that's it. Me and him just go when we go shoot or we go fishing. And so I love. Don't mean we got to hang out in all aspects, but just redefine it. That's good wisdom.
And I think you got to get to the root of it, Pastor. That husband could have got burnt by a close friend. Could have got burnt by him. Could have got hurt by him.
And especially the other wife too, like you said, a sister. Right. Like, I don't do women no more. You're right. And that's when you find out, right? Maybe it might be a hurt that you can deal with. See, these are good things. This has been so wonderful.
Is it more of a hurt also for when a man gets hurt versus when a woman? Because it seems like sometimes women can bounce back quicker than men when they've been, as my husband say, burnt or upset, or hurt by a friend.
Well, it seems like with men, men always had that one or two close knit friends. He could have been somebody he grew up with. Could have been somebody he worked with for a long time. And he could get that close. They don't have a lot, but when that one they have, they entrust everything with it. When that person hurts them or burns them or something, that's why I'm good by myself. So you always gotta get to the root of what's going on, the why, what's going on with that person.
And see, that's why we're having this dialogue. That's wonderful, Pastor Philip and Jeanette, how you said that the why, the burn, because then now, rather than y'all arguing about they pulling weight, you can maybe help lead them through a healing.
That's right.
Him through a healing or her. It's like
Right.
that people are human. You know,
Right.
women like, oh, not all women are not all bad, but they're human.
Right.
You know, and then men too. And there is a level of vulnerability that you're gonna go through, you know, when that people will let you down, and redefining it, you know. And I try to redefine it. What I learned, you know, just from friend. My goal is to be a good friend.
Right.
Now I don't want to be somewhere where I'm getting used and
Right.
not taken for granted. But if my goal is like, I want to be a good friend, and long as they're not abusive or taking advantage, then the friendship might not be like level 10. It just might be, it just is what it is. It's a level 5 relationship.
Right.
And it's like, well, I don't want to be the one to always call. Well, sometimes that ain't bad. If that's just how it is. If the person like, well, I don't do, you know, I don't call, I don't talk, I don't do texting, then let it be what it is. So sometimes you can help walk them through healings, and they can be able to have some levels. So that's good wisdom to find out why. But if you don't never had a conversation with your spouse, they like you said first, they have to redefine
Mhm.
what a friend is. And in that, because they might not ever get that person back. That's not my road dog.
Right.
Like we have friends that we hang out with, but we don't talk every day. We don't. Sometimes we just don't even talk. We just catch up with where we last left off. So a lot of times sometimes that's what happens. Sometimes too is that you got to decide if you have an everyday friend or whatever. You got to put them in their little categories, because sometimes you really do have those friends, but you don't see it as that. You see it as, oh, I don't talk to them every day.
Because that's your ideal of a friend.
Yes. So you don't have to talk to that friend every day. Because like me, I don't talk to some of our friends every day. But when we get together, we're talking and we catch.
It's different levels.
I call it catching up.
Yeah, it's levels.
Catching up.
Everything gonna be like right. Pastor C is a level 10. No, he's level 11. Out of 1 to 10, he's at 11.
12.
Or 12.
Yeah.
Off the Richter scale.
Yeah.
I got other friends. Man, we might not talk for 6 months.
And then
we won't talk then if I don't call them. But they my friend that we won't.
I'm that friend.
But that we will not talk if I don't call them in 6 months. But that ain't a friendship. But that's how you define it. Right. That's still my friend. When we talk, we love one another. We talk. It's just like I don't do phone. I don't talk like that. You know, some men are like, I don't do phones. I don't do phones. So we talk when we see, you know, but it's all different. Right. And I love that first lady in the category. And I know this seems painstaking, but that's the help that you need. Mm-hmm. See, to help your spouse be able to see that rather than now, and you can get this wisdom. We're almost done. This is phenomenal. Why is it, Pastor, so crucial not to fight in front of the kids? You hit it. Why do they really need to get this? Because some say, well, we want our kids to know that we ain't perfect and it is what it is. You know, marriage is not perfect. It ain't always so, you know, I'm upset. So they fight and they share. Why is this so crucial not to do that?
I think it's so crucial not to do it because they'll grow up thinking that's normal. So when they get married, they'll do it because they think it's normal. Mm-hmm. That's what my parents did, so they think it's normal. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's so crucial not to, because they pick up, they eat so easily to pick up bad habits.
But they would say, it is normal if we fighting in the room. I mean, fist fighting, but we're having heated discussions, passionate discussions, working through disagreement. Shouldn't we let them see it then? That's like, I thought they should see it so they don't have this mirage that is all perfect.
I don't think they should hear it or see it. We should be husband and wife enough to take it somewhere where they don't, because we only want them to see the Christ.
Right.
That's how we want them to grow up in the Christ. Mm-hmm. So we don't want them to see those habits, those things that those patterns that they can pick up. That pattern they can pick up and it becomes their pattern.
That's it. And then, and not only that too, Pastor, like you said, we talked about, because see, when you do that, then now you are putting those children in a position to choose sides. Look how you treat my mama. You know, mm-hmm. Now that's the same thing with your family. Now y'all go back, y'all in the bedroom, y'all good. Y'all done made up, y'all in love. But that child is still sitting there like, I saw how you talked to my mama. I saw what you did to my mama or my daddy. And now you got children who are silently taking sides and growing up with that down on the inside of them. And not only that, that goes back to that same thing about when we talked about that unity. It's like you have to protect your covenant even in the face of your children.
Right.
You know, because if you don't, you can't just get to where we just let it all hang out. It's in our house. What happened in our house stays in our house. No, because even though you think it stays in your house, because like my husband say, when you instill that in those children, what you happen in your house, they bring out into their house to happen again.
And to add on to that, they're not just bringing in their house. They can lose disrespect for you. Why you let mama do you like that all the time? And why you let daddy do you out so they'll disrespect you? You're so weak and stuff like, I'll say things that out the ordinary because they've lost they've lost respect for you.
Yeah.
And let me say this too. Go ahead, Pastor Jeanette. Then we'll get you first.
I was just going to say that goes back to like what we talked about the different ages of the children when we talked about from baby, toddler to teenagers to adults. It's like we have to remember that as they mature, we should be maturing too, because every stage requires a new version of you. Every stage that we have with those children, it requires a new version of us. And we've got to be mindful that what we did and all of that and what they see, it's an impact in their life. It's a mark in their life. It's a stain in their life. Some of us didn't know that until we got older. But the bottom line, as long as they see that unity and that bond, then that's when you'll be able to keep that unity and that respect in your home.
And then too, and I'm gonna let you say this first, but I want to chime in because it goes with it. It's like you said, the bitterness, the resentment. That's so wonderful, Pastor Philip. You said that. See, if they might not speak it, but you sow seeds of bitterness against the other way you treated my mama, the way you treated my daddy. And now when they get in them teenage, that's already going to be a challenging time. But you put that in there. Now you've armed them with weapons against the dad or weapons against the mom because they heard you say stuff. So you know how mom, that's why dad said you like that. Or that's why mom said you like, so you've sold it now, or they can be bitter against you for the way you treat them. But then even the other side, you're right, Pastor Davis, you create a bitterness in them where they say, I'm not going to be, my daddy got punked. I'm not going to be that. Now you created something out of the ordinary for them. Because see, you worked out stuff in public that should have been worked out in private.
Right.
See, because you worked it out. Some conversations need to be had, like between leaders and leaders, people and people. It's like we have this conversation in a respectful way, but we don't need to have it around the people. It's like you don't give birth in public. You don't do hygiene in public. We have to do hygiene with our face, with our nose, with our teeth. We don't do certain hygiene in public. We do it in everybody just knows it's done, but you do it in private. You let them know that we do this, but it's in private because it's not to be done. Leaders, if we disagree, somebody's past, we don't like. I don't think that we can talk about it, but we do it in the right space,
right?
Because we don't never do with some things we shouldn't never deal with in the public. And so I love that, like you said that, because now that son said, you ain't gonna punk my daddy, got mama punk daddy, and so you created something out of the ordinary in that boy because you worked it out, or that girl like. Mama was a pushover. And now now it's hard for her to deal with any man because she got that. I ain't going to go out like my mama. I ain't going to go out like me. So you created something where now she can't have a strong man because you created that because she said like I saw. So you want to keep them from that. And now some even learn abuse because now they've seen y'all moments and they kind of think like that's how you talk to a woman. You know, you don't be like that, and and because you could have been, you learned and you grew, like me, even so for now. And thank God by the grace of God, we knew these things. Like now, I'm not upset. I'm just passionate, and I'm talking. But if you didn't know, and me and my wife having a conversation, it seemed like I'm angry. Like, hey, calm down, man. But I'm not though. So think if we was having a conversation though about something, it could come off like, man, he's like, wow, this how how he talked to her, man. And so that's why some things do need to be in private because everybody won't understand. If it wasn't preaching, they'll be like, man, what is he? Something wrong. You know, Jacoby said, Pastor just passionate.
That's what
but you see that's the wisdom. That's why it need to be in private.
Right.
First lady, I know we got to get ready to close.
But then too, we're not saying, because sometimes we can mislead our kids too, that you don't do it. But if you have a disagreement in front of your kids, don't bring them into that disagreement. Just say me and mom and dad are upset with each other right now. This is what we're gonna push this on the shelf. You don't tell the kids that, but that's what we're gonna do.
No, we don't do,
if we see that we're getting to that point where we really putting fuel to the fire in front of the kids, we withdraw from that and then take it to the other area. But it's not, because our kids, when we be driving and trying to get instructions on how to drive and where to turn off, you would be like, hey, you told me to turn here, and I said turn here. And then I'm like, hey, you should listen to me. That's not what we're talking about, that kind of.
And then even in that,
was you wrong?
No, even in that, even in that, boo, that's only gonna go so far too. Right. That only went so far because we knew the principle that we do not get into go detail with the kids. We just know, like, we'll just talk, we'll finish it later. Like, okay. It's like, let's move on out of that. Because we never did that in front of the kids to go, but we let them know that we have disagreements. We talk about it.
In front of our kids, we had disagreements.
They'll see they know we had disagreements, but we didn't work through our disagreements, going back and forth. Right. My side, your side, well, don't talk to me like that. Well, I ain't talking to you. When you said this, we don't go through that. We do it in private. So that's good wisdom.
And sometimes, like we all do, we joke about each of us. Sometimes we do say, "Oh, you acting like your daddy." It
just is joking.
But that's joking way. But sometimes our kids, because a couple of my kids, they do act like their daddy. I got one on from it, but it's because he's been around him, and that's what kids do. But what I know what you're saying is that we're not going to do a We don't go out in the detail. We're not going to work it out in front of them. We're not going to have the heated.
We're not going to work it out in front of the kids.
No, not work it out, but then not to say tell people because you're gonna have disagreements in front of kids. Yeah. So instead of we're not just gonna do like what I call the long.
Let's say like if we had a disagreement on where we're gonna do vacation at, and we're not sure, we're not gonna have the discussion amongst the kids, right. Like going back and forth.
But if it's something like if you doing driving directions like my family members, we all we have that thing, and then like. As Jacoby want to say, we all are passionate about what we talking about in our family, so it can make it seem like that we're arguing.
So, but this the balance though. The balance that they know that we have disagreements. Right. They know we don't paint a rose-colored picture, but we don't go into all the details. That's like I know Pastor Davis do hygiene. I've never seen that man do hygiene. I don't want to see him do hygiene, but he does hygiene. He does. So it's not that you act like you don't.
So the men ain't like us. When we hanging out late, when we go on our girls, so we be brushing teeth and doing all kinds of stuff.
But I'm just saying, like,
right there.
Because we friends.
That we don't go to the bathroom together. Yeah, go to the bathroom. Let's go together. No.
do that so we can cover.
That's a different thing. That's why I need male friends. Right. Like, I don't get up like, Pastor, we go to the bathroom with you. We don't go together. Like, we don't go together. But but it's us a balance in it. So we don't paint a picture that we perfect and we don't never agree.
Because
but we don't
in the real world, and that spouse has been in that type of situation, they can they can be like, well, this way. But no, but our kids can say, well, our parents had disagreements, but they didn't let it get thuggy.
Yeah, we don't do that. We don't do that anyway. But yeah, you're right. We don't go there.
Do you know what thuggy means?
Yeah, thuggy or bad, whatever. Like we don't go ghetto. I call it ghetto.
But but all jokes aside, though, there are some that even some on this line, before we grew into the things that we did have those moments where kids did get to see some thuggy moments. They did get to see some passionate discussions and disagreements, and even when you closed the bedroom door, thinking
they heard it,
they could hear still. So, but with that, it's like, that's how we talked about, as we grew up and as we learned, then we were able to understand that, hey, then we adjusted and we shifted as they got older. So then they still formed to where we could see the unity They didn't see it then, they can see it now.
Right.
Yeah, and that's good. Well, they won't feel bad if you did it. We just so happened, just grace that we was able to let some of these things hurt, but that's good,
Right.
Pastor.
You
That
know,
feel bad if you did.
Yeah, because you can cause trauma to the child too. You know, a kid grow up with that trauma, that fear that, you know, if I get in a relationship, that's gonna happen to me if I get in a relationship like
I
that.
hated it. Yeah, I went through trauma. It's nothing like I've been in situations, nothing like as a child to be in abusive situations. I've been in that. And it's traumatized you to hear fussing and fighting, crying. Yeah, it's just nothing for a child to go through that. And like you said, that stuff traumatizes it for a child. Even if it's just yelling, a child don't understand mom and daddy in there yelling. We just knew by grace God that we never wanted to expose our kids but everybody has a different thing. I found a thing, y'all did a great job, pastors, with the kids. Go back and see it. We talked about small kids, the connection, having them connection moments. This is a great time. We'll give final words to y'all. First, say anything you want to say. I think I said enough. We'll give final words to our pastors. Anything you want to say? First, say for them. Yeah. This has been phenomenal tonight. What a discussion.
I would say, as for the small kids, I think routine is good for them. So then that they know that at a certain time, because. Well, maybe because we do routines.
No, that's good. That's everybody need that. Especially kids need that.
Yeah, they need that.
That's good wisdom.
At first, when I say my sons and their wives, they put my grandkids to nap time. I don't care where they at, they're gonna get a nap time and they're gonna go lay down. But I'm like, they at me, mom, papa house. Let them stay up. Let them just play. But then I realized that. No, they know their kids and they want to put them down, because if not, they're all going to be cranky and they're going to be disrupting the whole family thing. So we do have to keep our kids on routines. And like me, when the boys was growing up, they had the bath time. They had, we read and we say our prayer. We cook, we eat at this time. So I think kids thrive on routines and systems.
That's good.
So if anything, that's like my kids, they did learn that there's a way that we go about doing things and how to do it. And so now they put their kids, they have a bedtime, they have a nap time, and no matter where they at, they still put them down. Like even if they're here at our home, and they put them kids down for a nap time.
That's wonderful. And that's why it's so good, pastors, y'all did it comprehensively. Because if you've never been taught that young kids need that routine, that's why everything will be chaotic. Right. And the last thing, since you mentioned that, y'all mentioned it, with our kids, we got grandkids, the way we raise our kids, when we go eat at the restaurant, whatever they're doing, when we see them, they're their kids.
Them kids.
That, and we gently make stuff like, we don't like, better get that Carol a coat. It's like, they don't have a coat, they're not cold. Like, if they doing stuff, we back up. Those are their kids.
Yeah, they kids.
Those are, you raise your kids. They it ain't like, oh, you should have put on a coat. They might not have them in swatting clothes and bundled up. That's them.
Yeah,
whatever they do, and see, and you got to respect that though.
Right.
Because you got to respect the way they raise their kids.
Like our grandson, he just turned 3. He gets hot all the time, so he takes off and disrobes himself most of the time. So most of the time they just have him in the shirt or whatever, because why? Because they know he's gonna take it off.
Well, I mean, I let them their kids. Yeah, I'm Papa.
Me.
I'm the candy man. All right, Pastors Jeanette, y'all final words. What a phenomenal time. We'll turn it over to you all. Y'all can close us out tonight.
Oh, Pastor, the only thing that I would leave out with is we would leave out that unity is not automatic. It is protected, nurtured, and guarded. And when couples honor each other, set spirit-led boundaries, and stay unified in every season, their marriage becomes a place where marriage thrives, what we're talking about. And it gets to that place when unity is protected, boundaries become blessings, wisdom becomes a shield, and love becomes the atmosphere where families flourish, either in the young age or in the older age.
That's good.
Anything you want?
Basically what you're saying, we set the tone for everything.
Yes.
In the marriage, we set the tone. We set the biblical tone for everything in the marriage, whatever ever go through. And I just wanted to add something, we talked about earlier about, older parents, but so it's not, sometimes it can be older kids too that have to come back home. I remember when my son had to come back and regroup
Yes.
But the boundaries still were there, and he honored the boundaries and stuff like that because he grew up with the boundaries. So I think this was a great conversational piece today. You know, we touched a couple of areas that couples need to know and that will help them strive, help them to be better. And we just looking forward to the last one next week. The last one.
Have a blessed night.
Have a blessed night.
Next, our session number 7 is our last one. For those that are live, those that are on the replay and on the series, you can get it next. Good night. Thank you, pastors, for just a phenomenal discussion tonight.